Have you guys ever been a fan of the Steve Wilkos show or the Jerry Springer show? Those shows that talk about all of those paternity tests proving you are the father? Well, Samurai Jack kind of replicated this in its own cartoony way, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about. So without wasting any more time, let's get straight into this video. So, where do I even begin with the revelations, man? We start off finding out, for those of you who were speculating, including myself, that Jack and Ashy did not have sex. I thought they did, because I thought the song from the previous episode completely symbolized it, and the fact that, you know, the lights went dark and Ashy was still kissing him even when they came back on. I'm like, yeah, they're gonna get some nookie together, but that wasn't the case. You know, they were just kissing. They kind of felt awkward about it. You know, Ashy wants to go get some clothes. You know, Jack obviously clearly needs to get clothes for himself because they were all like messed up from the previous creature. And this episode had a very peaceful, tranquil feel at the beginning of it. We see some bonding, you know, where Jack and Ashy are sharing this slug-like creature, you know, for dinner, even though it was nasty as hell. And it was funny seeing them like chewing it with disdain. So there were some really nice little moments with each other. You can clearly see that the attraction between Jack and Ashy is definitely showing up a lot more in this episode, as we see later on that there was a point where they were holding hands talking about how they wanted to defeat Aku together. But before we even get to all that stuff, you know, the episode had a nice feel, but we go straight towards Scaramouche the Merciless, who's literally like abducted like a freaking octopus-like creature now, which was cool. I thought that it was interesting because we clearly knew Scaramouche was going to be a more central character in this series, considering, you know, the fact that he found out that Jack didn't have a sword, but in fact, it turns out that he was wrong. Or it's not necessarily that he was wrong, it's more like there was an update on life, and Scaramouche thought Jack didn't have the sword, but Jack actually got it when Scaramouche didn't realize he got it. So he's not really lying, he just didn't get the new story. It's like saying, hey, guess what? Do you have a girlfriend? And you say, no, I don't have a girlfriend. And your friend plans for you to go to a singles club to meet other girls. But then when you go to the club, he's like, oh, I got a girlfriend 2 days ago. I met her. And it's like, well, damn, I planned all this stuff out and you just burned me. And that's kind of what I felt from that. And, you know, talking more about the episode itself, Scaramouche, you know, goes to Aku. Aku is anticipating, you know, Jack. And Jack goes off to find, you know, Aku. Like, he leaves all on his own will. He doesn't want Ashy to be a part of it, and I can clearly understand that, because Jack obviously has come from a world where so many of his people have been hurt, you know, by the vial of Aku and stuff. So it makes sense for Jack to not want Ashy to be a part of it. But obviously, the alpha woman that she is, she follows him. And we get a very interesting part of this episode where, you know, they're talking together, they're planning to defeat Aku after Scaramouche kind of, you know, informed Aku about all this stuff. And the cool thing about Scaramouche, I should also mention this real quick, is that I love how, like, Aku has like his own little like robot voice machine answering system outside, and like Scaramouche completely like bypassed that and had like that moment where he was dancing with Aku. That was a pretty cool scene. I can't forget to mention that. That was a funny scene, seeing him and, like, you know, Aku dancing. And it's really cool because Samurai Jack is such a serious show with such goofy, silly moments in it. And that's what makes it such a brilliant series to me. Like, it mixes, you know, slapstick comedy with like a serious plot of a really evil guy. So you can't really take it that serious. It's like, it's kind of like him and, you know, Mojo Jojo from, like, you know, the Powerpuff Girls. These are evil motherfuckers, but you also kind of have to take them serious, even though they're so corny and goofy, like Mojo Jojo repeats himself. So, and also, you guys remember, you know, a lot of these Cartoon Network shows were, you know, had a lot of the staff members working on the same thing, like Jenna D. Tartakovsky. But, you know, to go back to the main point of this stuff, though, Jack and Ashy confront Aku. Aku comes out, realizes that Jack has the sword, and immediately vaporizes Scaramouche. I lost it, guys. That was so funny to me because it literally personifies how irrelevant Scaramouche has been in this entire series in such a jokingly way. Because if you think about it, Scaramouche was like a villain in like the first episode. He fought Jack, lost, was pretty much just a head. He had that silly line where he's like, oh, what a freak, looks like a talking penis. And you know, when he went on top of the penis's head and then he was talking to those three, you know, dogs on the ship, like, he's had his silly moments, but he hasn't really been relevant. He's kind of just a throwaway character. And I love how, like, when Aku finds out that Jack had a sword, after all this, he literally just vaporizes his ass. It's like, you're so insignificant. You're like a bug that just educated me on something. And I love that scene. And poor Scaramucci just literally just freaking exploded. I lost it. I was watching this with my dad and we just bursted out laughing. Like, that was a hilarious scene, guys. And, you know, as that's going on, you know, Jack and Ashi, you know, are like, you know, obviously trying to like take Aku down. They clearly realize that he's the antagonist, but we see a conflict of interest take place. So the revelation of this episode is that Aku in essence is really her father, and when the mother drank Aku's essence, she became impregnated. So the daughters of Aku are literally the daughters of Aku. I, along with many people, and shout out to Kevin Kuto, you know, for talking to me on Twitter about this before I recorded this video, you know, we were talking about it and we all felt that like the daughters of Aku were like a metaphorical way, like, yeah, they're a daughter, like kind of like you have like the Sons of Liberty, you know, back in the day, you know, in the 1700s representing America, and I was also in a group called the Sons of Liberty. Yeah, it's like a metaphorical phrase. You're not literally a son of a liberty, you know what I mean? But in essence, no, they are his daughters. And it shows you that Aku, because of the connection that they have, he's able to actually completely take control over Ashi, which literally is like in Star Wars, like now she's like, okay, like turning to the dark side of the Force, and like Jack has like a conflict of interest because now he has, you know, feelings for Ashi and Ashi has feelings for Jack. But Ashi now wants to kill her dad, but she kind of can't because her dad has control over her body. But now Jack doesn't want to kill Ashi because he's in love with her. So if he kills the possessed Ashi, then he would kill her, which means that he wouldn't have his love interest anymore. So he'd rather just die and not do anything about it, which is kind of fucked up. Like, how do you solve that situation, guys? How do you solve a situation that has a dilemma where you literally, no matter what you do, there's nothing good that can come out of this? Now, me personally, I would try to kill Aku because Aku seems to be the main threat, so maybe if I kill him, the effects will ward off or something. But the problem is that Ashi's stopping you from killing Aku. You know, and it also kind of makes you wonder about some things, guys. Like, if Aku could literally just wipe out Scaramucci in the blink of an eye like that, then it's like, this guy should be able to take Jack and Ashi. Now, obviously, Jack has the magic sword and he's so well trained, but you gotta think, like, this is not a normal creature we're talking about here, guys. And to me, that was just some of the really interesting, you know, plot points that this episode had. And overall, you know, I feel like the highlight of this episode would have to be when Jack was fighting against Ashi, you know, right after he had his little scuffle with Aku. And, you know, there was a scene where he manages to like slice her hand while she's in the suit. And that clearly shows you that she's cognizant and well aware of what's going on. So she's being possessed, but she's also kind of being in the moment and feeling what's going on, which in essence makes this situation more complicated because she's literally fighting against her own will. Like, this is some deep shit. She wants to kill her dad, but now she kind of can't because she's his daughter. And like, to me, like, this whole dilemma thing is just brilliant. And I know I'm talking about this a lot, guys, but to me, like, this is brilliant writing to the max, guys. Like, Gennady and his staff have literally brought a masterpiece of a show where they're bringing so many plot points into this. They're adding humor at the right times with, you know, the yucky slug creature and Scaramucci, and they're literally taking, you know, Aku and making a joke out of him. But the question is, what happens from here on out? If Jack literally just dies, then it doesn't solve anything because he kind of didn't go back to the past and fulfill his mission. And, you know, Ashi would still be possessed by Aku anyways. So what does it really do that you're gonna just stop? If you kill Ashi, at least you'll save people in the grander scheme of things. But if you sit there and do nothing, then you fucking die, and nobody's gets saved. So your love is kind of silly, because your love is kind of destroying other people's lives. And yours, and hers, because if you don't kill her, she's possessed. Brilliant writing, guys. Amazing dilemma. Phenomenal. This whole Samurai Jack season so far has been awesome. Every episode has been great. I loved everything about it. I love the dilemma. I love the humor. I love everything about the series. And quite honestly, guys, this has been a great trip. I'm going to be looking forward to giving you guys my final review next week as we, finally get the conclusion to this whole Samurai Jack comeback. It's been an awesome, journey, and I really appreciate you guys for, sticking through and watching my Samurai Jack reviews. My channel's mostly known for Dragon Ball, but it's cool that we have our little conversations in, the comments section, and I do respond to a lot of your comments as I really want to hear what you think about this episode and more. So with everything else said, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Remember, as I always say, to have a great day, guys, and let me know what you think about the whole dilemma thing that I broke down for you guys, because that's the key thing in this episode, and tell me more.